Today on the Commanders Report, I'm going to be reacting to two trade ideas from Bleacher Report, which are pretty interesting, surrounding the Washington Commanders before they start training camp here in a couple of weeks. But before we get into the trade rumors today, I want to give a big congratulations to my little brother, Joe Sperry, who announced his commitment to the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers, where he will be playing baseball over the next 2 seasons. Big congratulations to my little brother, Joe. And if you guys want to help us out here and you guys want to congratulate Joe on this accomplishment here, I would really appreciate it if you drop a like below this video right now. And I'd love to give Joe 1,000 likes to show everybody that Commanders Nation here is behind him. Really proud of you, Joe. Hope we can get to 1,000 likes for you today. Okay, now let's go to our first story today, our first trade idea from Bleacher Report, which would give the Commanders all-pro wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. Now, we've talked about Aiyuk and all the different stuff surrounding the rumors with him on the show a lot lately, but this is what Bleacher Report has as their idea for the Commanders landing the all-pro receiver. So, of course, they'd be landing Aiyuk, and then they'd be sending the San Francisco 49ers a second-round pick next year, and then a third-round pick the following year. Okay, so this is very interesting here, and I want to give it some context here. So let's see what Ryan Fowler from Bleacher Report, the author of this article, had to say. Washington boasts a pair of dynamic wideouts in Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. The team also drafted Luke McCaffrey in the 3rd round, but adding Aiyuk would elevate the group to arguably the best trio of wideouts in the game. The Commanders also have the current $37 million and projected 2025 cap space of $77.2 million available to pay Aiyuk. So listen, man, I would say when it comes to the way that they format this trade, there is no way the San Francisco 49ers would take that deal, okay? Plain and simply. Maybe before the draft they would have considered that, and they would have been a 2024 second-round pick because that's right at the top of the draft. But, you know, the fact that they would have to wait an entire year before they can reap any benefits from this trade just doesn't make any sense for San Francisco because they're trying to win now. How is it in San Francisco's benefit here to trade away an all-pro receiver and not even receive a player that can help them out this year? It just doesn't make any sense from San Francisco's point of view. And you might be saying, Jack, they drafted Ricky Pearsall, but it's like he's a rookie, all right? They might be thinking about him as a future piece and a future number one even, but not right now, not in his rookie season to replace Aiyuk's production where he was their number one receiver last year on a team that won the NFC Championship. So listen, man, if a deal is going to happen for Brandon Aiyuk, I've been saying this on the show for weeks, there must be a player in the trade. It can't just be draft picks because San Francisco can't use any of those draft picks to help them win a Super Bowl this year, which is their plan and their focus. So I think if anything is going to happen here, I think that what could be a pretty decent and fair trade here is that you have to forego Jahan Dotson. I understand, you know, a lot of Commanders fans still believe in Jahan, and for good reason. He's a first-round pick. He's very talented. But if you can get Brandon Aiyuk for a 2025 second-rounder and Jahan Dotson, I think the 49ers would like that because they get a receiver to replace Brandon Aiyuk, plus they get a draft pick that they probably value pretty nicely there as a second-round pick next year. And then the Commanders get to pair Brandon Aiyuk up with his buddy Jaden Daniels, who they just drafted with the number 2 overall pick. And oh yeah, you still have Terry McLaurin on the roster, and you'd be putting those two together as probably the most dynamic wide receiver duo in the National Football League. So let me know down there in the comments section, would you accept this trade for Brandon Aiyuk? You'd have to give up Jahan Dotson and a second-round pick, and you have to give Brandon Aiyuk about $30 million per season. But let me know, man, is it worth it? Type A if you're accepting, or type D if you're going to decline it. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. So the second trade idea that Bleacher Report came out with revolves around Jonathan Allen. We've heard a lot of rumors surrounding Jonathan Allen this year, but in this one, they send Jonathan Allen to the Colts at the NFL trade deadline. So here's the trade package that the Commanders would get. They would regain a second-round pick in 2025, and then in 2026, they'd get a 4th rounder, and then the Colts would receive Jonathan Allen, and they'd presumptively give them a new contract. This is what Fowler had to say about this trade idea. For the Commanders, it's an opportunity to add a valuable pick and idealize the future of Daron Payne alongside Johnny Newton, 2024 second-round pick with depth in the form of John Ridgeway already under contract. A fresh start could serve both parties well, considering the capital used from Peters used to select Newton, albeit his muddied projection to immediate snaps due to offseason foot surgery. For the long term, it makes sense. But my question to Ryan Fowler here does it really make sense? Because I think when you understand how they're planning to use Johnny Newton, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. First off, I don't think this makes sense for Indianapolis, okay? Because they run a 4-3 front, and they have two defensive tackles, and they already have DeForest Buckner, one of the best three techniques in football, and Grover Stewart as their nose tackle. So why in the hell would they want Jonathan Allen, let alone give up a second-round pick for him? They have other needs on that roster. Why would they want to spend this kind of capital on a position that they really don't have a major need in? And then second of all, I think Washington has a plan for Jonathan Allen. I think that they want him on this team, not just this year, just to unload him, right? I think that they want him here for a while, and I think that they have a plan for Johnny Newton as well. I think that they plan on using Johnny Newton as like a 3-4 defensive end because he is undersized as a true defensive tackle, all right? He is undersized to play Jonathan Allen's role, for example. So it's not like Johnny Newton can just go into Jonathan Allen's role as a 3 technique and survive. I think he's a little bit undersized, might get bullied in the run game a little bit. But, you have right now a situation where you can have Jonathan Allen at the 3 technique, Deron Payne at the 1 technique, and then Johnny Newton at the 5 technique playing that 3-4 defensive end role, which is still technically an interior pass rush position. Then you have Jamin Davis on the other side as that hybrid edge rusher coming off the edge there in the Micah Parsons role. So I think that this is the best formulation. And I think that this is what Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. plan to do. I think this is why they felt so comfortable going with Johnny Newton as early as they did, because I think Newton is a perfect fit for that 3-4 defensive end role, and it still allows you to have Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, and Johnny Newton on the field at the same time. If you trade Jonathan Allen away, this completely blows up. So I don't think that's in the plan of Adam Peters, of Dan Quinn, or Joe Witt Jr., and I think Jonathan Allen will likely still be a Commander even through the trade deadline this year. And now, like the video for me right now, if you want Jonathan Allen to stay here in Washington, I know I certainly want that. He's a great player. I hope he can stay here for the long haul. If you believe or if you agree with me here, make sure you click that thumbs up icon right now. Okay, now let's have a little bit of fun here, okay? Let's take these two trade rumors from Bleacher Report and let's combine them, and let's see what it would look like if we combine these two trade ideas to combine for one really cool trade idea that we haven't considered quite yet. So what about in this one here? What if Washington would involve Jonathan Allen in a Brandon Aiyuk trade? Now, for the record, I would not want to use Jonathan Allen in a Brandon Aiyuk trade. I'd rather do the Jahan Dotson deal. But let's say the 49ers are like, we really want Jonathan Allen. Is that really going to get you from not going to Brandon Aiyuk? It might, but here's what a potential deal could look like if you want to include Jonathan Allen. You don't have to give up as high of a draft pick, because I think Jonathan Allen is more valuable than Jahan Dotson at this point in their respective careers. And instead of giving up Jahan Dotson in a second rounder, you could give up Jonathan Allen in a third rounder and keep those higher draft picks. Plus, you still get Brandon Aiyuk. Plus, in this scenario, you would have that awesome wide receiver trio of Aiyuk, McLaurin, and Jahan Dotson as your wide receiver trio for Jaden Daniels. That would just be unbelievable. Now, the reason why I think San Francisco might accept this deal is because they've been looking for another defensive tackle to put on the other side of Javon Hargrave since Teron Armstead left, and they cut him earlier this offseason. And Jonathan Allen would certainly provide that. And then on Washington's side, maybe they value giving Jaden Daniels as much weaponry as humanly possible. Not only that, but you're getting him a weapon in Brandon Aiyuk, who he already has chemistry with. He probably has more chemistry than Brandon Aiyuk than any other wide receiver on the planet Earth right now. In fact, they're best friends. So I think this is certainly something the Commanders could be looking at if, in fact, it is in their plans to trade Jonathan Allen. Now, let me know down there in the comment section, would you accept this trade if it was brought to you by 49ers GM John Lynch? Give me a yes or a no for this trade idea down there in the comment section. Now, before we go here, we do have a little bit of an announcement here. The team came out for the team's birthday, actually, and announced that gold pants will be returning in 2024. So I'm kind of pumped up for that, man. I like the look. Let me know how you guys feel about the gold pants down there in the comment section. And that'll be it for today's show, guys. Appreciate all the real ones that made it to the end of today's program with me. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we got more Commanders content coming your way leading up to Commanders training camp here in a couple of weeks.